By now we may be used to seeing Americans at the top level, but until recently most of them were lucky to be there. The record for Champions League appearances by a US national is 27, held jointly by DeMarcus Beasley and Jermaine Jones, and while both played for decent-sized clubs in Rangers, PSV and Schalke, neither ever got close to a title in a top league. But that's set to change from now on. Tyler Adams became just the second American to appear in a UCL semi in 2020. But this season's competition could see several of his compatriots reach that stage, with Christian Pulisic at Chelsea, Weston McKennie at Juventus, Gio Reyna at Dortmund and Sergino Dest at Barcelona. But even that undersells the scale of the improvement, as American talent has become commonplace in top European youth squads. When Dest faced a choice between Barcelona and Bayern Munich in the summer of 2020, it was heralded as a huge step forward for American soccer. But the right-back wasn't the first US youngster at either club, with Conrad de la Fuente in the Barca youth ranks and Chris Richards appearing for Bayern B. And while it could take another 2 or 3 seasons for those kids to come through at club level, they're already amassing international experience. Of the 48 players called up to the US men's national team over the last year, 38 are under 25 and 19 are under 21. While over a third are on the books of sides in Europe's top 5 leagues. So how did the USA reinvent itself as a production line of outstanding young footballers? On this week's EFD Explained, we witnessed the birth of a future football powerhouse. To some degree, the US has always been hamstrung in men's soccer by the nation's devotion to other sports. With the focus on American football, baseball and basketball, relatively few boys aspired to play soccer, and as a result, many of the national team's players grew up outside the country, with Jermaine Jones, Tim Chandler and Fabian Johnson all born in Germany to military parents. And those other sports had a larger effect on youth development. Until 2007, soccer players came up the same way as other athletes, playing for high schools and colleges before arriving at professional clubs through a national draft. That meant that by the time they reached 20, even the brightest young talents had relatively little playing experience and none against top quality opposition, while rivals in other countries were playing in competitive leagues like the Championship or Segunda División. And even on the training ground they were behind, with the top American youths practicing around 50% less than the best prospects in other nations. So 13 years ago, US soccer authorities shook up the youth system with something called the US Soccer Development Academy. Essentially a set of national youth leagues, it gave promising boys and girls 10 months of training a year under professional coaches, saw MLS youth sides compete against other strong academies across North America, and offered a clear progression to students. The under-12s largely focusing on practice, with the number of competitive games increasing up to age 19, when the best prospects were given the chance to train with senior MLS and NASL stars. With the Development Academy came a wave of investment in training facilities, and after criticism from one-time US MNT coach Jurgen Klinsmann, the American Football Association put more focus on adolescent sport too, making the decision in 2016 to field international teams from under 14 up to under 20. Suddenly, American kids were playing games that really mattered against serious football nations and building relationships with one another which could be carried into the senior team. The USSDA wasn't perfect. Sides were often moved to other divisions seemingly at random, there were huge distances to be travelled between games making the cost of participation high, and children were banned from playing both in the DA and for their schools, ultimately causing a major defection of girls' teams, which, along with the financial burden of COVID-19, brought the system down in 2020. But in the 13 years it was in operation, Reyna, Pulisic and McKennie all came through the boys' DA, along with Tyler Adams, Timothy Ware, Man City's Zach Steffen and a host of other exciting young footballers. Men's soccer in America was gathering momentum. The loss of the USSDA could have seen football plateau in the USA, but fortunately MLS recognised the value of the system and have already created a replacement. From the 2020-21 campaign, the league will run its own youth pyramid, MLS Next, with over 100 clubs, 500 teams and 9,000 players between the ages of 13 and 19. Under the new structure, every single player will be given a tailored program for self-improvement, and not just on the pitch, with MLS Next providing advice on academic development and college placement, alongside the usual athletic and technical education vital for growth as a footballer. The aim being to create a generation not only talented enough to compete with the best in the world, but also mentally and personally equipped for the challenges of a career in the game. And smartly, the USA has realised that it will need elite coaches to continue making progress. Jesse Marsch is already excelling at RB Salzburg after cutting his teeth at New York Red Bulls, but MLS Next includes a development scheme for managers, partnering with the French Football Federation to train over 100 coaches already. For the first time in the history of football in America, the nation possesses the structure and tools needed to mould a world-class team. How long will it be before an American wins the Ballon d'Or? On this evidence, it could be sooner than you think. So that's all we've got time for on this week's EFD Explained, but what would you like to see us cover next time? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to never miss a video. We'll see you next time.